Being 7 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Basmus?
Here.
Commissioner Bauer? Commissioner Gage?
Here.
Commissioner Gary?
Here.
Commissioner Lynn?
Here.
Commissioner Osterhout?
Here.
Commissioner Twardy? Here.
Okay, we haven't heard from Commissioner Bauer, so we won't excuse him at this point. Well, hopefully he'll be coming in
Shortly.
shortly. Thank you. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. Evening, Commissioner Bauer. He made it. Please, for some housekeeping, those with cell phones, if they would please put them on vibrate or silence them and turning them off, that would be appreciated. Thank you. Before we get started, also, Commissioner Gage would like to introduce a person that he has with him.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and fellow commissioners. In an effort to help better strengthen the relationship between the students of Lake Superior State University and the City of Sault Ste. Marie, the student government has designated Cliff Pattinson, who is here in the front row, to serve as the student government liaison to the City Commission. And so the idea here is that he will be able to report things happening from the students to us, and we can also give him messages to send back. So we have a dedicated line and point person to help better that relationship and strengthen it. So
Okay, great.
hopefully
Will
he'll
he
be
also
here throughout the year. And
be involved in the Sioux United group?
yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Welcome, Clifford.
Thank you.
We have also with us Lisa Watkins from the Superior District Library Director, and there is a proclamation, Edgar Allan Poe Day in Community Big Read for September and October, and I have a proclamation, and Lisa, if you'd meet me at the podium. Thank you. We have a proclamation from the City of Sault Ste. Marie for Edgar Allan Poe Day and Community Big Read. Whereas the gift of reading opens the door to a world of imagination, enrichment, and economic opportunity like no other, and whereas the ability to read and write is fundamental to leading a full and productive life, and literacy is the building block of lifelong learning, and whereas families benefit from engaging in shared learning activities at home and in the community, and whereas communities, libraries, and schools provide family engagement opportunities that support children's language and literacy development. And whereas the City of Sault Ste. Marie is a vibrant community of residents who are regularly patrons of the library. And whereas reading is a popular form of entertainment and education for the residents of the Superior District Library. And whereas it is especially important that the residents of the Superior District Library be aware of reading programs and opportunities for educational enrichment. And whereas during the months of September and October, district libraries will be promoting the works of Edgar Allan Poe through book talks, programs, and activities provided through a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts. And whereas the City of Sault Ste. Marie has a tradition of commitment to universal literacy and family literacy, therefore I, Anthony G. Basmus, Mayor of the City of Sault Ste. Marie, do hereby proclaim October the 7th, 2016 as Edgar Allan Poe Day and urge the residents of the Superior District Library to join in the Big Read events commemorating him and his works during the months of September and October 2016. In witness thereof, I hereby set my hand to cause the seal of the City of Sault Ste. Marie to be set this 6th day of September 2016. Anthony G. Basmus, Mayor. Lisa? Great. Congratulations. And if you'd like to just explain a little bit about what's going on these 2 months, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. We were fortunate to be one of 75 libraries in the country this year to receive a Big Read grant. It's quite an honor. I think we're only the second library in the Upper Peninsula to ever receive one, so it's kind of a big deal for us. We chose the works of Edgar Allan Poe because we felt that that was something that transcended many ages and genders. I remember reading him back in 4th grade all the way through college, so I thought that that was something quite fun. We can tie in some spooky stuff for September and October. Commissioner Bauer is going to be hosting a trivia night at the brewery and hopefully having an Edgar Allan Porter as a special. We'll be doing cemetery tours, book discussions. We'll be having the kickoff event this Sunday at the Crow's Nest in the Sisler Center from 1 to 4 p.m. And it's open house crafts and prizes and food that you would find at an 1830s tea party. So afternoon tea with Poe. And so I wanted to invite you and all of the commissioners. I can pass those around. And I also have a copy of the book to present to you, and then some Big Read bookmarks. So, and thank you.
Thank you again, Lisa, and certainly good luck with the Edgar Allan Poe and the children reading. It would be it's great that the three different libraries involved in this kind of information too. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, should I suggest that they should have a cask of Amontillado at Ray's place? That's a Edgar Allan Poe book.
Thank you. Also, we certainly would like to congratulate Scott Brand. I see that he ended up fifth in the Salmon Slam this past weekend, and was second, I understand, for a while. And fish were hard to come by. It looks like maybe the warm waters had a lot to do with that. But also a great event in the city, and continued success in that event. Also, we are pleased to have a gift that was given to the city, and I'm going to let Commissioner Lynn introduce the gift, because this individual happened to play in the national championship team that Lynn Otto sponsored many years ago.
This is a Red Wing jersey signed by head coach, Jeff Blashill. You can all see the nice big Red Wing. We're going to probably put this down at the puller somewhere.
For sure.
The mayor and I kicked around a couple ideas. It is signed by him, and with Jeff, the story with Lynn Auto Parts and myself. I'll pass that back to you. He was we had two goalies on the Lynn Auto Parts team, coached by Bobby Brown in '87, and won the national championship in Peoria, Illinois, and I got to stand center ice doing that. I still can get emotional about that. It was unbelievable. But he was part of that team. What a great hockey team Bobby Brown put together. Really good hockey players. And he gets to be head coach of the Detroit Red Wings, and I got my new left hip in June right after that, and I thought for sure I was going to get a phone call. But I just made the cut. I was just a little too old, but hopefully we can get him up here, and we'll have a display with not only his jersey, and I talked to the mayor about the championship trophy in '87 to put on display, and I'm sure there's pictures out there, etc. But that's glad that he did. I know he's been very busy. And
yeah, these when we sent a letter under your signature and my signature, asking for some memorabilia, and we certainly would like the shirt, and we did get it, and we're going to hang it somewhere where it's visibly, easily visible, and we'd like it from both sides because it has a Red Wing on one side and his signature in 15, the 15 meaning when he started coaching the Red Wings. And we have a letter of authenticity and a nice little note from him, how much he enjoyed growing up in the Sioux, and that the coaching that he got here is really the main reason how he ended up being the coach of the Red Wings. And he gives a lot of credit to those coaches, and really enjoyed himself all here in growing up in the city of Sault Ste. Marie. So great, thank you.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, item number item number two, is public comment on scheduled agenda items. Any person may reserve time to speak on an agenda item not to exceed 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone in the audience like to make a comment on an agenda item? Jeff, if you just want to say that you want to make a comment, then when we get to the item, we'll...
wait for the item to come up.
Yes, you normally wait, but as long as we know you want to speak to an item, what item would that be?
That would be your agenda for
Puller renovation? 4A. Okay, thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, item number 3 is the consent agenda. Deputy City Manager.
Under the consent agenda, A, minute approval. 1, approval of the minutes of the regular city commission meeting of August 15, 2016. Recommended action, approve the minutes of the regular city commission meeting of August 15, 2016. Item 2, acceptance of the minutes of the following boards and commissions. A, Airport Advisory Board, June 6 of 2016. B, City Tree Commission of July 19, 2016. C, PEHP Public Works Unit of August 3, 2016. D, Planning Commission of June 9, 2016, and E, Sault Ste. Marie Housing Commission of July 14, 2016. Recommended action is to accept the minutes of the various boards and commissions. Item B, Communications. 1, from the Downtown Development Authority, approval of updated Downtown Development Authority bylaws. Recommended action is to approve the DDA bylaws as presented. Item C, City Manager's Report. 1, Election Inspector Wage Adjustment. Recommended action is approve the Election Inspector Wage Adjustment as presented.
Okay, thank you. Is there a commissioner who would like something further explained on the consent agenda? Commissioner Tuardi.
So move that we approve the consent agenda.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Mayor Boswis.
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage.
Yes.
Commissioner Gary.
Yes.
Commissioner Lynn.
Yes.
Commissioner Osterhout.
Yes.
Commissioner Tuardi.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 4 at this time is the city manager's report. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item A on our city manager's report would provide for the approval of change order number 1 and number 2 to McGahee Construction's contract for the Puller Community Building restroom and Zamboni hallway upgrades. On this matter, I've requested that Parks and Recreation Director Wires present to the City Commission. Thank
Okay. Evening, Dan.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. As the Commission is aware, at the July 5th, 2016 City Commission meeting, the Commission awarded a bid to McGahee Construction of Sault Ste. Marie for restroom and Zamboni hallway upgrades. On August 16th, the Puller Fundraising Committee met to discuss the remaining fund balance that remains after the restroom and Zamboni hallway upgrades. After the restroom and Zamboni hallway upgrades have been completed, the fundraising committee discussed putting some additional chairs into the Puller, up to 84 chairs donated, and these chairs were donated by Lake Superior State University. Addition of heat in the dressing rooms and adjustment to the current chair configuration and a safety rail in the reconfigured dressing room number 1. These are some small items. Some of these are small, some of these are items that through the renovation project, we figured we needed some heat in some of the restrooms or in some of the dressing rooms, whereas there used to be big radiators. We took them out. We found it's a little bit colder on the north side of the Puller than originally speaking. So this is something that's been talked about. And when we put the ADA area in quite a few years ago, we did put some additional chairs back into the Puller. So it's been very popular. A lot of the customers have been concerned, hoping that we'd put some more in. So this is kind of a change, some much needed change orders, and to put some additional seating in the Puller. Open for any questions that the commission may have.
Maybe before we get some questions, we could have, I think, Mr. Kelps, you wanted to speak to this item? Please. Okay. If you'd identify yourself for the record, we'd appreciate it.
Jeff Phillips, and, former skater and still skating at the Puller, and past enforcer, if you may. But I have concern about some of the projects that are going on, and as far as the chairs go in and how many are going in, I'm afraid it might wreck the true atmosphere of the Puller. And right now, there are chairs in there that cannot be properly sanitized because the way they were mounted. And you're also taking out 2 extra rows to put chairs in. You're losing seating by mounting these chairs. Yeah, I know they're popular, but when's it gonna stop if people want chairs way up in the corner where they usually sit? You know, you need to choose your products very carefully before the atmosphere is totally wrecked in that building, because a lot of people like the way it is, the bench seating. And if people would like a back, there is stadium chairs that they make. I mean, people buy them all the time, and for football fields, anywhere. So I'm hoping that you will choose your projects carefully, because if it doesn't get sanitized properly and things go sour, people are going to be looking to maintenance. So why is this, you know, why is this smelling like it is for spilled things, whatever? And I don't want to see them thrown under the bus for poorly projects being made.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you. If you go back up, Mr. Waters, thanks. I know when the committee discussed the chair issue type of thing, we had a lot of people that were sitting in the chairs, and more people would like to sit in the chairs. Especially, I think the committee was talking about the first 2 rows, or maybe no higher than the 3rd row if we can't put it in the 1st row because of amount of space needed for people to go through. The sections that we initially did were closed. There was no folks walking totally through with other people sitting there. So there was no way to get out of it other than to walk through the first part, and then you would sit in the chair. The other sections that we're looking at, like a lower bowl on the same side, extending it maybe to a few more exit areas, which would give you a look of 2 rows of chairs along that lower bowl. On the one side, it'd be the south side, and no further than that is what we were initially talking about. Commissioner Lynn, you certainly can add to this, but we have had a number of people that really like the chairs, and people that come to the puller, many of them have a problem sitting on benches. So when they saw and we had in the area right where the handicap accessibility now sits, we had about 50 chairs in that area, or were there more than that, Dan? Do you remember?
Roughly 40.
40?
Roughly about
Okay.
40 chairs.
Okay. And that was always a kind of a reserve section when Hiawatha maybe did their ice reviews and stuff. So we thought it would be nice to continue that lower bowl at least on the south side of the puller for that 2 rows type of thing. No higher than, if we had to move to a 3rd row, that would, because folks in those chairs normally have a hard time going upstairs, so that we didn't want them to have to traverse the whole area. So I don't see us going with a whole lot of chairs. It would be initially, if the commission so sees fit, if we wanted to do another several rows going to the east and west, but on the south side in 2 rows is what we were initially talking about.
And just to add to what the mayor is saying as well, and it would be 2 rows up. The good piece is that those 2 rows would be behind the protective glass. So a senior or someone sitting in those would be protected behind the safety glass. That's 1. And 2, Mr. Kilps does bring up a good point. Our custodians, Matt Casey and Phil McKechnie, some of the things that, since we did put the chairs in the first time, had commented that's a little bit difficult for us to get clean behind the first row of chairs. So this go around here, I talked to Randy McGahey about this, about looking at some possible ideas so that we can get in and through there and clean that behind it. So I mean, you could throw popcorn and stuff behind it and mash it up under the seat. There's not a real easy way to clean them. So that's something we would be looking at correcting, and also with anything that goes in new.
Commissioner Lynn, you have any comments, or?
No, I know they've been very, very popular, and if you can make them to where they can be cleaned, that takes care of that problem. I do have a question. Dan, before the meeting, let the people know when this fundraiser started.
I believe it was February 3rd of 2013.
So we've been at this over 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened to the time. All I know, it was a heck of a lot of work, but it was worth it. We saved the puller. People got to remember that. If we wouldn't have done this, she was going to go down. And we seen the piping in that puller. that was going to go down. There's no question about it. And we weren't handicap accessible. The state electrical inspector was wondering why we never had a fire. That's all been taken care of. The building's going to be there a long time, long after I'm gone, I can tell you that. We've got a beautiful roof, and everything that we've done is to improve the place and to save it.
We're in a lot better shape than we were years ago, and I do want to report, it's one of those under-promise and over-deliver issues, is our staff has been working, we started the ice plant last Monday, so we're just over a week. And we worked through the weekend, through the holiday, and we're hoping by tomorrow morning we shall have a good sheet of ice that hopefully we can have practices on, starting on potentially on Thursday. I haven't told any of the coaches yet, but certainly that's something we're evaluating this evening, and we're in good shape with all that too.
And Dan's got a great staff down there. There's no question about it.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere. Commissioner Twardy has a question.
Yeah, well, questions, comments, yeah. I think that Jeff Rutt really brings up a really good point there, because one of the most exciting things about walking into the Polar is the aesthetics of the barn. And I know that the seats that we put in, which was to replace the seats that we took out, so that didn't change the old aesthetics, really. I am concerned about taking out two more rows, additional rows, and especially if you're talking about cutting down seating at the lower levels, where we know that the young kids all climb up into the corners. But so now you're talking about eliminating a lot of seats where people who can't possibly get up there, and the aesthetics and the cleaning issue. So now I'm just going to suggest that maybe what we do is we put the chairs, I don't think that we need to rush on the chairs. I don't think that it's going to change hockey season. I agree that the heating is very important, and it is vital, because those north side dressing rooms do get really, really cold. But I would be willing to recommend that maybe, or suggest that maybe we just put the seat backs on the back burner, and we can think about it, and maybe see some pictures and see options of trying to clean underneath there. Because if guys are trying to get squished popcorn underneath, and you tell us you're going to fix it, but we don't know how you're going to fix it, I'd just like to have it. Because once we bolt those things in there and you take them out, you've got permanent holes now in those benches. And to me, I grew up at the Polar. We all grew up at the Polar. The benches are like one of the coolest things about the barn.
And I know the committee, cares about the Polar,
Yeah.
and don't want to change the experience that people have in the Polar. And I don't know that we considered initially having to not be able to put a first row on that, because the first row is on the two sections that are there now, and to have to go to a second and third row versus a first row would make me think about, do we really want to go up to the third level? Because people do have a hard time going up and down the stairs. So if we can't stay in the lower part of that area and on that first level, then it's something that maybe there's no rush, I guess, for chairs, but it probably wouldn't hurt to get an idea of if it's even possible, if we can get traffic through the front of that area, and the cleaning part of it, if they can't make it more accessible. Those certainly are some concerns.
Certainly, and I did speak with Steve Aikinen today about this, and he is going to be looking a little closer at it. Randy McGahey will also be looking at it, and we can come back with some form of a plan, a written plan on where they would go, if the commission would like that as well. The only caution I would put is, if you go up further with those seats, you're going to come out, if you look now, anybody sitting in those first two rows of seats, you're protected by the glass. You go up, nobody else is protected either, though.
No.
So once you get beyond the first couple rows, so other than that, that's, certainly we can come back with that. But that has been one of our concerns, and I did express that to Randy last week as well.
Two quick questions. Number one is, as far as a hardcore number, how many seats would we really be losing? And number two is, how long do you think, and I know you don't have a crystal ball, Dan, but how long do you think it would take to actually figure out a better alternative as far as cleaning these areas?
Well, that was discussed with Randy McGahey, and when we adjust the seats that are there already, because they were put on about an 1.5 inch piece of wood. We're talking about maybe having some form of a steel or something that we can get under. I don't have an exact, answer for that. It is something we'd have to come back and look at and then come back to the commission with. But everybody is very aware of that we'd have to change what's there now.
Let me also say before I go to Commissioner, I do appreciate Jeff Kilps going forward. We certainly know the amount of hours that Jeff has put into the Canes rink. And he's, almost, and I don't know what kind of a group that he has worked with him other than himself, but he's put an awful lot of hours in Canes and made Canes rink tremendous for youth. If you haven't had, most of us I think have seen that and been there during the Canes Classic and stuff, and that little rink has been just a gem in this community, not an artificial surface, a real ice surface type of thing. So he really understands, and when he speaks, I think that he means a lot of what he says is certainly accurate. So we don't want to do anything that would destroy the character of the puller. So maybe we need to slow a bit on the chairs and make sure that we can clean them. They'll look fine, and they'll be in that. If the committee wants to continue to recommend that that's something that they want to do, making sure that we can put it on the first level, in the first space, and not have to go up to a second or third or that kind of thing. But Commissioner Lynn, do you have any comment?
Well, you've got two items here, two change orders. Is that for the chairs?
Well, the chairs are part of change order number 2. Change order number 1 is for the dressing room, the number 1 dressing room, which is to remove the heating, all the heat in the dressing room.
And the safety of the...
And the safety rail, the heating, and all that is baked into change order number 2. So you could pull the one item out of change order number 2.
So we could pull number 2 out then, is that the
We
one?
could pull number 2 out or pull the chairs
Just
out
the
of number
chairs
2.
out, maybe.
Well,
City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. As a point of clarification, by my math, removing the chair-related expenses would result in a total expense of $5,670
Okay.
for the non-chair related expenses.
Okay. Make a motion?
I would so move that that's exactly what we do.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any further comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bauer?
Yes.
Commissioner Gage?
Yes.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Lynn?
Yes.
Commissioner Osterhout?
Yes.
Commissioner Tuorty?
Yes.
Mayor Bospas?
Yes. Motion carried, thank you. And then you'll continue to research and just see what is possible if...
That's
the
correct.
Commission so much. Okay,
Absolutely.
thanks.
Item B, under the city manager's report, would provide for the approval of a purchase agreement with Central Savings Bank for 801 Seymour Street. During the week of July 18th, city administration became aware of the fact that Central Savings Bank would be assuming possession of 801 Seymour Street, the location upon which Millette Construction Equipment Company has been located for many years, and a location that adjoins the Department of Public Works complex on East Easterday Avenue. At that time, city administration was also made aware of the fact that Central Savings Bank would be assuming possession of 809 Seymour Street. A map highlighting 801 Seymour, 809 Seymour, and the DPW complex has been included and is on the projector. Between that time and August 5th, city administration negotiated a tentative purchase price of $105,000 at which the city could acquire 801 Seymour Street from Central Savings Bank. It should be noted that this negotiation followed a significant amount of due diligence conducted by city administration and Northwest Design Group through the completion of the space needs and concept plan that demonstrated the acquisition of 801 Seymour Street by the city could be beneficial to the DPW complex and municipal operations. For further reference, the applicable portion of the space needs and concept plan that details how 801 Seymour Street could be improved to become a part of the complex has been included within the materials. Additionally included is a detailed estimate of the expenses that may be incurred to demolish 2 structures at 801 Seymour Street and refurbish another in a manner that would support the operations of the Department of Public Works. An additional review of relevant facts demonstrated that it would not be desirable for the city to acquire 809 Seymour at this time. Importantly, the City Real Estate Acquisition and Disposition Committee, which includes commission representation through Mayor Bospas and Commissioner Geary, has concurred that a purchase price of $105,000 at which the city could acquire 801 Seymour from Central Savings Bank would be fair. This purchase price is in line with the value at which Central Savings Bank has recorded 801 Seymour and is below the market value estimated for the property by the city. Upon the acquisition of this parcel, the city would be in a position to not only integrate this property into the Department of Public Works complex, but would also be able to improve it in a manner that further beautifies the intersection of Seymour Street and East Easterday Avenue. In order to facilitate the acquisition of 801 Seymour by the city, the included purchase agreement has been prepared. City Attorney Canello has reviewed the document, which would provide the city with the ability to complete any desired environmental testing on the property and conduct additional related due diligence prior to finalizing any acceptance of the property. On balance, the proposed purchase agreement and price are in line with the expectations of city administration. Accordingly, it's my recommendation that the City Commission first authorize the city manager to execute the purchase agreement as presented once the city administration accepts the results of all inspections, inventories, appraisals, and audits commissioned by the city or otherwise required by the presented agreement, and secondarily, authorize necessary budget amendments to the DPW Complex Fund to account for the agreed-upon purchase price of $105,000, as well as additional expenses in an amount not to exceed $12,000 for additional surveying work, environmental testing, and related activities. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. There are 2 recommendations in discussion with the city attorney. Those are 2 separate motions. And Commissioner Lynn, you wanted to...
Question for the city attorney. I'm sure this is what he's going to give me for an answer. I should not discuss and I should abstain from voting because I'm on the Central Savings Bank Board.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Geary.
I would make a motion to authorize the city manager to execute the purchase agreement as presented once the city administration accepts the result of all inspections, inventories, appraisals, and audits commissioned by the city or otherwise required by the presented agreement.
Support.
It's been moved, supported. Are there any questions or comments? We'll say that this just happened in time, I guess, because our space needs and concept plan, if we all remember, we paid for a plan on city facilities, and we've been talking about a DPW building for many years, and came back with after much discussion, that the current location is probably the best fit for the city, and we would try and develop that property and make it much more presentable to us and also to the citizens of Sault Ste. Marie, and to be able to secure these buildings and make the site whole with the city owning all the property to Seymour. Makes a lot of sense, and for a reasonable price, I believe. So that's just a comment. Anybody else can? Commissioner Tuardi?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just a quick comment too, because I think that whole street along that stretch of Spruce Street or Easter Day to Spruce is starting to look really good. Bittner Construction cleaned up that one area, and so us just, keeping with that flow, it's just going to really help with the aesthetics of the whole corner, whole
Thank
street.
you. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? We have a motion and support. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gage?
Yes.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Osterhout?
Yes.
Commissioner Tuardi?
Yes.
Mayor Bosfus?
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. And Commissioner Gary?
I make a motion to authorize necessary budget amendments to the DPW Complex Fund to account for the agreed-upon purchase price, $105,000, as well as additional expenses in an amount not to exceed $12,000 for additional surveying work, environmental testing, and related activities.
Support.
It's been moved, supported. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Osterhout?
Yes.
Commissioner Tuardi?
Yes.
Mayor Bosfus?
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer?
Yes.
Commissioner Gage?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Item C under the city manager's report pertains to a closed session to discuss the status of the State of Michigan Tax Tribunal case with Walmart. City Attorney Steve Cannella would like to consult with the City Commission on the Michigan Tax Tribunal case with Walmart and related trial and settlement strategies in closed session. Section 8E of the State of Michigan Open Meetings Act specifically states that a public body may meet in a closed session to consult with its attorney regarding trial or settlement strategy in connection with specific pending litigation. Accordingly, it's my recommendation that following the status reports, that the City Commission enter into closed session in order to discuss trial and or settlement strategies as pertaining to the State of Michigan Tax Tribunal case with Walmart, Michigan Tax Tribunal Order Docket Number 15-002107, Walmart Real Estate Business Trust versus City of Sault Ste. Marie, in accordance with Section 8E of the State of Michigan Open Meetings Act.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bauer?
So moved that the commission enter into closed session in order to discuss trial and or settlement strategies as pertaining to the State of Michigan Tax Tribunal case with Walmart as outlined here, in accordance with Section 8E of the State of Michigan Open Meetings Act.
Support.
It's been moved, supported. Questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lynn?
Yes.
Commissioner Osterhout?
Yes.
Commissioner Tuardi?
Yes.
Mayor Bosfus?
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer?
Yes.
Commissioner Gage?
Yes.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. And that will happen after this meeting. Okay.
And that concludes the city manager's component of the agenda. Thank you, Mayor and Commission.
Okay, thank you. And item number 5 is status report. Oh,
Technically, that's not happening after this meeting, am I right? Isn't it in the body of this meeting,
But our meeting-
is it before or after the adjournment, Steve?
it is after the adjournment, I would think. Well,
Procedurally, we adjourn this meeting and then convene the closed session, as we will not be returning to open session at the end of the closed session.
So anybody who has comments, do it before we convene
Yes.
into closed session.
Correct.
Okay. My apologies.
okay, thank you. That's certainly okay. Item number 5 are status reports.
Item A under status reports pertains to the recreational vehicle and trailer parking within city rights-of-way. As commissioners are aware, at its August 15th regular meeting, the City Commission established a period of 45 days during which the public would be invited to comment on an ordinance that could be adopted to address the parking of recreational vehicles and other trailer-type vehicles on a long-term basis within city rights-of-way. The drafting of the ordinance occurred after several complaints about the parking of such vehicles within city rights-of-way were received by city administration over the course of recent years. In particular, these complaints referred to resulting vision obstructions, difficulties backing out of driveways, blight, and people living in campers on the street. City administration has publicly released the draft ordinance as well as supporting documentation, such as the ordinances that have been adopted by peer communities to address these types of concerns, for public review and comment. As a note, written comments on this matter can currently be sent to the city clerk's office via email to rtroyer@siouxcity.com. They can be dropped off at City Hall or sent via mail to City Hall at 225 East Portage Avenue until September 30th. To date, city administration has received 2 emails in support of the ordinance in general. As a note, city administration is continuing to review particular details, such as how frequently a permit could be issued for limited parking of such vehicles on streets, and whether such permits would or would not be issued consecutively. It is expected that a recommendation regarding these particular points would be offered by city administration following any commentary period. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, Commission? I know it's been 45-day, Commissioner Oshro.
I just had a citizen that reached out to me, and they also thought that it should pertain to city property as well. I guess I believe is pertaining to the marina down on Riverside Drive with the empty boat trailers, that people that park their boats there during the winter or during the summer at the docks and leave their trailers there the whole year round as well. And he thought that was an eyesore as well. So he just asked that I mention that too, and I think that he's probably correct in that fact that, why do we use the city, city property as a storage lot for empty trailers as well?
Okay, City Manager?
Thank you, Commissioner Osterhout. That is something that administration will research.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Gage?
I've also been trying to solicit as much feedback on this as possible, so I've been encouraging people, if they have comments, to call or text or send me a message on Facebook. I've gotten several Facebook messages, and surprisingly, I was shocked by this, most of them are against this, which I find strange. I like to hear all the feedback. I don't agree with a lot of the reasons why some folks are against it, but I just wanted to pass that along, that I have gotten negative feedback on this, which is a bit silly. I don't understand that, but part of the problem was the main argument was, that's going to penalize some people and make it more difficult for them to have campers and enjoy the area if they're going to have to pay for storage over the winter. But to me, I think that just is part of property ownership. You have to take care of your stuff, and you have to pay for storage over the winter. And frankly, it makes our town hard to get around in if there's RVs and trailers everywhere and stuff. So just thought I'd pass that along.
No, it's those are good comments, because ultimately the 45 days, when you look at August 15th, we're coming up on about 30 days, so you got another 15, and I wonder if we shouldn't extend those days, because ultimately a lot of people aren't in town or at their cabins. Some folks, a lot of hustle and bustle going on in the summertime. Now folks with school starting come back, to the community. And I wonder if we shouldn't maybe, since it's taken, we've been looking at this and been getting folks talking to us for a number of years, and having a 45-day, maybe it should be a bit longer. And then, there's going to be, I'm sure there's going to be public hearings going forward if we decide we want to do something. But I think we want community input, and that's why we're asking. So that if folks are against it, if they would certainly write those down and get those so that they're in writing, we'd appreciate it, just so we know as a commission how the community feels, type of thing.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea, Mayor, because this is probably something I don't think that we'd start enforcing until next year anyways, because of the simple fact that, we still have to have people, give them time to prepare if we are going to change the ordinance.
Sure.
But I think that's probably a good idea, extend it for another 15 days to make it 60 days or something like that.
Rest of the commission, Commissioner Gage?
I've always made sure that everybody who talks to me about this knows exactly when we meet, where we meet, the schedule and things like that.
Appreciate that.
And I don't think any of them are going to show up. unfortunately. But it is what, I mean, they're invited. It's a public meeting, so.
Okay. And there'll be a process. You know, this is the 45-day period, or 60-day, or 90-day period. There's still going to be a process at the end if we go forward, type of thing. Okay? So at this point, we're at 45 days. You want to extend it? You want to just have it go and then have another update at the end and see if we want to continue? What's the pleasure of the commission? Commissioner Tuardi?
Thanks. I don't see anything wrong with extending it to 60 days.
Okay. And have we been in the local media with this information? City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. This is something that actually today, myself and Deputy City Manager Troyer were discussing. A press release has been prepared to be sent to the local newspaper tomorrow. And this has also been on Facebook, and a notice has been printed in a newspaper. So efforts are being made, but we're continuing to push those even further so that people are aware of the proposal.
Okay, great. I would hope we would get more than 2 comments, or, you know, a commissioner, or a couple of us being kind of, hopefully we would get a number of comments and go from there, type of thing. Okay? Commissioner Gage?
Perhaps if we ask him really nicely, Scott Brand will write about it for tomorrow.
I'm sure it'll be there. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Did we increase the days to 60 days? Is that we better do that by a voice vote? All those in favor of extending it to 60 days instead of 45 days, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Item B, under status reports, is pertaining to a status update on the waterfront redevelopment study. On this matter, I've requested that City Engineer Basista make a presentation to the Commission.
Okay. Good evening, Linda.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. As you may recall, in March, you approved a contract with Smith Group JJR to do the waterfront redevelopment study, also known as the Carbide Dock CZM grant. And the grant is, we received a $30,000 coastal zone management grant and used $30,000 previously budgeted for Carbide Dock evaluation study to use as a match. Smith Group JJR has completed the underwater inspection and prepared a report in which they determined that the dock is in relatively good condition, which we knew that some of the pilings are missing, and some of the other pieces are missing, and there's some settlement in the eastern corner, which we've watched and are keeping the loading off. The next step, though, and also as part of that underwater review, they determined that the cause of the sinkholes are that the shoreline is not adequately armored. At one time, the drawings did call for, the original drawings from Carbide, called for large stone to line the shore. If you recall, the dock itself kind of hangs out over the river, and the original shoreline is underneath the dock. And that needs to be armored in order to not erode. And their review determined that when it's not armored adequately, and with some dredging that has occurred either on the channel by the Corps or some previous dredging that was done around 6 years ago, could have also impacted that. But we know the sinkholes have been occurring for some time, so it wasn't just that recent dredging. But, so the next step is they gave us a proposal for an amendment to do modeling of the seawall based on the condition of the existing piles. They'll model a representative sample of the dock based on the types of loading we have on the dock with the freighters, salt, whatever materials we typically have loaded, and what we might think we may use on load on and off the dock of material, and to determine what the useful life of the dock is and what kind of loads it can currently handle and would handle in the future with upgrades or repairs. That amendment was approved by the city manager, because as you recall, when you approved their Smith Group JGR's contract. We also approved the city manager to approve amendments up to $60,000, which is the total budget. The next step following the seawall modeling and the life and relative costs of the fixing the sinkholes will be to hold the public input sessions. I have a conference call with Smith Group JGR this week in which we'll discuss the details of how we want to do the public input, get the stakeholder input. It'll also include talking to the shipping companies and the Corps and the Coast Guard and various stakeholders, and then also holding a public session as well, maybe an open house or something for just general public input. And then that also includes the use of the Harvey Marina. That's part of this study as well. So, and then hopefully this winter we'll have the results of that and be able to package it up to have the information we need to make a decision on what we do with the carbide dock and Harvey Marina going down the road or going down the river.
Commissioner Gage? Commissioner Gage has a question?
Yeah. Do we have any idea, ballpark cost? Any clue?
For
repair and?
No.
Okay.
No. We've still been using in our CIP from before when we talked about doing the sheet piling along the entire front of the dock, $4 to $6 million. It seems like that's what it was. They're looking at possibly ways to shore up not from the water's edge, but at that shore where the dock and the shoreline meet. So they're going to evaluate some alternatives for that. Not that that's necessarily going to be less expensive.
Just because it seemed like
But other alternatives.
Your report, when you just mentioned, it seems like it's not nearly as bad as we thought it was going to be.
Well, we always knew that the reason for the sinkholes was erosion of the shoreline. So something would need to be done there. One of the options that was looked at before I got here and estimated was just to do a sheet wall along the entire dock, and then you'd fill in behind it. Stop the erosion, fill in behind it. But I think that was just done in-house and a quick estimate done in order to apply for some funding. But they'll look at various alternatives for fixing it. The pilings we knew were not in bad condition because the last analysis inspection showed that the pilings were in good condition. It's just that the water had been down for a while, and that can cause, when the pilings are always underwater, they'll be good for 100 years or more, hundreds of years actually. But when the water was down, I was concerned that the pilings had deteriorated, but they're still in pretty good condition.
Commissioner Gary?
We know that this is a longer-term project, especially with all the modeling and the input and then the financing, but do they have any suggestions, or can we get some from them on taking care of the sinkholes in Alfred Park? Those are a little bit tough looking. Is there anything that we can do on a temporary basis to make that more usable? And
yeah, we talked about that a little bit. They wanted to make sure that we don't fill them in before we have all the various funding resources have an opportunity to see the condition. And, we can take plenty of pictures, but they suggested we might not want to jump in and repair them temporarily.
Okay. Commissioner Lynn?
If they do the lock job, and I know we've heard that for decades, but there was talk that the carbide property would be the staging area, and that would be heavily used, heavy equipment, etc. Maybe that can be included in the price of the lock by our wonderful federal government. Just a thought.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
We will seek out all corners for funding, that's for sure.
Commissioner Tuardi?
Thank you. Yeah, that was actually going to be my point. If we can show the need for the carbide dock by all the different entities and usefulness in town, then perhaps we will have more leverage when we're requesting funding.
Right. And this study will give us the information we need to know exactly what we need to do, what the costs are relative to that. And with this study, we'll also be able to go to the Corps for their, they currently have community assistance grants, and we'll be able to apply for their grant. In fact, we sent them a letter of interest and to apply for a community assistance grant, and that would help pay for the design. So little by little, if we could get them engaged and understanding the use of the dock, then we'll be better off.
In the redevelopment study, they're including that little inland area by the Carbide dock that they're,
Yeah, they included
really
their
rough
slip
shape.
in their underwater inspection, which basically just shows that it needs to be totally rebuilt. Yeah,
Okay.
that's in very
No
bad
question.
condition,
Yep,
the
yep.
slip, yeah.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Do you want questions about
Pardon?
what's?
Oh, no, I was going to do it at the, I was going to have you come up during commissioner comment, and I'll ask you then, so, about the, what's going on at the locks with the closing of the road, and if you could just bring people up to date, because I'm sure when they see, let's wait till commissioner comments, because somebody else might have a question too. Thanks. Okay. Anything else? The standpipe?
Item C on the status report pertains to the standpipe signage. As the commission is aware, the standpipe at the intersection of Ryan and Easterday was rehabilitated in 2010, and at the time an existing plywood sign that was located on site was removed. Because of its condition, it could not be renovated or repurposed. There is a quote that the city has received from Vital Signs to move forward with new signage. There have been a number of inquiries that city administration has received that I've been aware of over the course of my tenure here about when a new sign would be placed, and we just wanted to put this in front of the community for its awareness. The cost is just over $5,000, and we're aiming to have this installed before the snow flies this year.
It's very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
Okay, it looks like it's about 12, 13 feet high. If that man is 6 feet, the taller one.
I would say it's on order of 9, 10.
Looks nice. Very nice. Okay. Okay. Any questions on the sign? Thank you.
And prior to closing the status report, just wanted to provide an additional update to the commission and the community about a tribute to first responders that would be held this Sunday, September the 11th. It was facilitated with the support of local veterans groups. It's going to occur at 3 o'clock at the intersection of Ashman and Spruce, and certainly appreciate everybody's efforts to coordinate this, and will be a significant event for the community. At 3 o'clock, Sunday, September the 11th, the 15th anniversary recognition.
Recognition at the corner of Spruce and Ashman, and we'll have a lot of first responders and others involved, so thank you to the veterans. Vietnam veterans, I think, initially had the idea, and they're going forward with that, and some cooperation from the city and others, so it's be a nice event. 3 o'clock in the afternoon beginning.
In the event of rain, the backup location would be Sioux Area High School.
Sioux Area High School if it's inclement weather. Okay?
And that concludes the status reports. Thank you, Mayor and Commission.
Okay, thank you. Item number 6, matters presented by the public. Is anyone in the audience like to make a comment at this time? Yes. Mr. Nepper. Come on up here, Justin.
Thank you. Good evening.
Evening.
Just wanted to mention 2 quick things that we're working on. Just wanted to mention a few things that we're working on downtown. One is a quick update on our mural project. We've given out and delivered almost all of our mural donation gifts to the people that have donated. We're just working on the last few for those who are at the highest levels, and we're working on the plaques that will be going on the walls on the various locations once the murals are done. In terms of where they're at currently, we have of course, the Lake Superior State University themed mural fully completed, and then we have the mural on the side of the winery about 60%, I'd say. I think there's still people being added to the canoes. It's looking really, really nice. A lot of detail in the water on the side of the winery. So if you haven't seen that, make sure you stop by. As soon as the weather clears, I'm guessing they'll be back out there. And then on the Edmund Fitzgerald mural, they've done the sky. So they went up. It took a while to get access to the roof and figure out how the scaffolding could sit up there without popping holes in the roof. So all of that gotten taken care of. And Gene Tubman's team patched all the plaster, got it ready for paint, and put the first layer of primer and paint on it. So they'll be adding the Edmund Fitzgerald coming up. And then the last month and a half, we've been working with the Alpha Bar on identifying a contractor that would remove all of the current covering on that wall and get it down to the original brick. If you drive by there, you can see some test holes, and the brick behind the plaster is in really bad shape. So it's gonna be a fairly significant cost and project for the owners. And so there's a chance that mural might be bumped into the spring in terms of painting, but we'll be going out for calls for art submissions here in the next 2 weeks, and starting to gather the art that will be looked at by the owners. And so that's coming up, but you should see a lot of the plywood and the plaster coming off the next 2 weeks. I think Bittner Construction is going to be working on it. So that's the update on the murals. The second thing, just I guess to give people a little idea on one of the big projects the DDA board is working on. December 4th is our deadline to apply to become a Michigan Main Street community. 3 cities out of about 30 that apply each year get chosen. It comes with a huge benefits package for our community, about $250,000 in technical support and funding specifically targeted at doing high-end market studies on what our gaps are in our marketplace. A lot of the stuff that Hyatt Palma did maybe about 15 years ago kind of refreshes a lot of that, as well as focuses in on consulting for small businesses, board trainings, and it requires the DDA to adopt what's called the Main Street 4-point approach, which is a model of doing business that's a trademarked model in terms of developing downtowns by using volunteers and activism. It's focused on economic restructuring, which is kind of growing businesses and helping businesses that exist. Organization, which is about fundraising and managing volunteers. Promotions, which is all about marketing, events, and festivals. And then design, which is all about our aesthetics, our flowers, our beautification, our historic buildings. So it's a 4-point fully encompassing approach. We have a meeting tomorrow at noon. A lot of our downtown businesses will be there, and we have a steering committee that has been set up and operating alongside and under the DDA board, and we've signed up over 90 volunteers that have pledged to start helping downtown with various projects in the future. So we're sidewalk sales, we had over 20 people sign up. Beer Fest, 17, and Lakerpalooza, 56 students and faculty signed up for whether it be helping weed a garden or serving on a committee or helping at an event or festival. So we're really trying to build our capacity as the DDA through this program.
Excellent. Questions?
Yeah, Justin, wasn't there a limit? I'm sorry, I thought you called my name, Mayor. My apologies. But isn't there there's a minimum of volunteers you have to have for the Michigan Main Street? Are we getting close to that?
Yeah, there is no minimum, but what they grade us on is our ability to show that there's what's called community-wide support. So they want to make sure that it's not just the DDA board and the city commission just pushing, kind of from a governmental side of things, without the support of the community. So we're really working to have meetings with various boards and organizations. Tomorrow, like I said, we have an educational meeting where actually one of the people from the Main Street main office is coming up to do a PowerPoint. We're going to be at 313 at lunch downtown, so if anybody's interested. And there are probably about 40 people that are coming to that. And then on September 24th, we're doing an official launch party with the tribe, organizing that at the Old American Cafe, and we are inviting the 90 people that signed up to volunteer, giving them T-shirts that were donated by National Office Products, that say, I think they say Michigan's original in Main Street. So we're really getting buy-in from all over the place. The Visitors Bureau just pledged financial support to the DDA for the next 5 years. We had our web designer, who usually we pay each year. He just pledged $500 in free web design each year to help the DDA and Main Street. And that's the whole point, is really to show, whether it's financially or with people's time, that they love downtown, they support downtown, and they want to see downtown grow regardless of, regardless of whether or not it almost turns it into it's a cause and a mission instead of just a business district, if you will. So we're getting there.
Excellent. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else from the public? Okay, item number 7, matters presented by the City Commission. Let me just begin by asking City Engineer Linda Vasista to come back up. If you were down on West Portage, you saw that the westbound traffic was closed all day, and I just wondered, as long as we're meeting that night, just an update on what is going on in the Locks area.
Okay, this is the Corps. It's doing some improvements on their property, and one of the improvements is running a new water line to the locks. And so the contractor, R&B Construction, had, in order to make the tap, pulled a permit from us. And they had originally contacted us early in August and wanted to do it mid-August. And so I asked them told them they had to wait until after Labor Day. So I gave them the permit to do it starting today. The plan was to close down the road to get the opening and close just the westbound lane in order to open the hole and do the water main tap, and then a full closure of both lanes in order to run their water main, because if you go downtown, you'll see a pipe right now sitting by Das Gift House that runs through the alley and around the corner and comes out onto Osborne. That's the HDPE pipe that they're going to be installing, and they're going to be doing that by directional drill. So they need to run that pipe across the road. So that would take a full day. And then the third day would just be to restore the road, and that would just affect, again, westbound traffic. Today, because of the weather and then the pending weather for the rest of the week, before they opened the road, I actually opened the hole, I asked them to stop. I was going to reissue the permit because the Corps makes them stop work if there's lightning flashes anywhere within a certain mile, and it has to be gone for a continuous so many minutes before they can start work again. So with the weather forecast for the rest of the week, which calls for thunderstorms through Thursday, before they got the hole open, I didn't want them to start, and then we wouldn't be able to open the road back up if they got stopped. So I told them to stop. I reissued the permit for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, when the weather forecast looks much better, and hopefully we won't have a wet road base and have a hole sitting that they can't work on, until the weather clears up. So actually I gave them, I told them they could start as early as Sunday, 9 p.m., because that's when the gates close anyway. And they have until 6 p.m. Wednesday. If weather goes right, again, it would be a lane closure, then a full closure, and then another lane closure. So 3 days.
The black pipe that's sitting through Bell's property?
Yeah.
So they're going to pull that pipe across the road and in underground?
Okay. The hole is where the water main is, where that concrete block is sitting right now, which, by the way, they should have pulled that back by now so that
there should be two-lane traffic?
There should be
again?
two-lane traffic.
Okay.
So they have to pull that concrete block back until Sunday night. And they drill from the core side to get the hole, and kind of like when you run an electrical wire, you
Okay.
run a guide line, and then they pull the pipe through that hole that they drill. So depending on, rocks that they hit and so forth, it's, there's a lot of unknowns, and I just didn't want them to get it open. Even if they started Wednesday, if it took them an extra day, they'd be cutting into the weekend as well. So I just said, wait until Monday. And
How much of the roadway do they disturb?
the actual road, about a lane width.
Okay, that road's not that old.
No,
you know,
right. And that's why I didn't want to take the chance of it being wet and, having a wet road base on top of maybe them not being able to finish and having a hole open and having
Now,
the
will
road
they
closed.
patch that immediately?
They're having trouble finding somebody to pave their patch, so they'll have to maintain it as gravel, and I'm going to see what I can do with our contract with Baco, and because we have a patching contract with Baco right now, so I'll see if we can use that, and they can pay us for it, so.
Okay. Any questions? Thank
And
you
and then
for
the next
update.
meeting, I'm going to be asking to apply for that Federal Lands Access grant again that we applied for a couple of years ago and didn't get. I'm going to make sure I take lots of pictures of this activity because they're using our roads for federal land improvements, which affect our roads. So hopefully this will help strengthen
Yes.
our application.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for the update.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Am I to
Mr. Gage?
understand we're going to pave it for them and then accept an IOU from the federal government?
Yeah.
I don't see any way that can go wrong, No.
No, this will be from the contractor. And we have a cash bond from them, so
Yeah.
I think we'll get paid.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Twardy.
Thank you. Two quick things. Number one, I just realized this today, and I texted Justin, but today is 906 Day. I think it's kind of fun that the entire UP gets to celebrate one day that we all have in common. And next year, I know that we want to get on board and do something. And Marquette did a lot of activities today. I think Houghton does, so Lake State did too.
Have a beer.
Yeah, we want to get involved and have some fun stuff. So happy 906 Day. Number two, today was my most favorite day of the year, which is the first day of school. And so we get to send all those kids who have been sitting around playing video games back to school today. However, that being said, today is my first PSA announcement. Remember, children have the right to get to school safely. We should be yielding for children to cross the street. We should be watching for children riding their bikes and walking on sidewalks side of the road. There's your PSA.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's a good announcement. In fact, the police chief, that normally would be something that you would come up and talk about as the first day of school. That's not a bad idea that we do that publicly, especially when we meet on the first day. But Commissioner Tuardi, you took care of that, so you saved police chief from coming up, because that's a pretty good idea that a uniformed officer would talk to the folks listening that students do have the right to cross the street, and I know everybody's in a hurry trying to get to the door, but ultimately being safe around children and making sure that they have the wherewithal to be able to get to school is important. Okay.
I'll remember that for next year, Mayor.
Thank you. That'd be good. Anyone else? Commissioner Lynn.
Your Honor, I would so move that we adjourn this meeting.
Support.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Just like that.